Hello YouTube friends, my name is Jessica and I'm the owner and operator of Roundtown Candle Co. I am a small hand-poured soy wax candle business and I'm based out of a little town in Ohio. And if you are anywhere near the decision-making point of starting a candle business, you really need to watch this video. So I did not start from like a hobby status. I pretty much, once I poured my first candle and realized that if I used soy wax and clean fragrances, I wouldn't get the headaches and irritation that other candles have given me my whole life. Once I figured that out, I knew right away that I wanted to create a business. So I know there are people who get into it that same way. I know there are also people who, have a little side gig and you're selling candles maybe at markets or just, here and there, but not really having a full-on business, so to speak. So whatever your situation is, wherever you are with things, if you are at a point where you are trying to make that decision to move into a full-blown candle business or grow your hobby into something larger, I have some information, having gone through that myself, that I think would be helpful for you to know before you get into it. So let's just dive right in. So how I built a successful candle business during such a period of what a lot of people would say an oversaturated market. So what that means is there is absolutely no shortage at all of candle makers, candle businesses, candles in stores. I know the city that I live in, there are, you can go to the dollar store, to the pharmacies, you can go to a little boutique shop, you can go to the big box stores. Wherever you go, you can buy a candle. It's almost guaranteed. And so that, when I started out and I kind of had announced to my family, like, hey, I've been working on this thing. I haven't really said anything about it, but this is my plan. I'm going to start a business. I had relatives who would say things like, candles? Why candles? Why not something else? Candles are everywhere. You're never going to make it with candles. And I don't think that they meant that in a negative way. Although, to me, that's exactly kind of how it came out. But I think it was more of a concern because you can go anywhere and buy a candle. And I get that. But the difference for me, and this is something that I think is the absolute foundation of what a business should be when you are trying to create something in a market that is pretty heavily saturated. You have to look at it as, what am I going to do different from what everybody else is doing? And what I saw was, and there are even other small makers in the city that I live in that make soy candles. So my soy candles and their soy candles are probably fairly similar, but I had to look at how they're selling, what they're doing, and really it came down to one thing for me that was a game changer. And that is that it needs to be about more than a candle on a shelf. Every store I walked into, there are candles on a shelf, and it stops there. There's nothing that makes you think this candle is any different from the candle I saw in the other store, or the candle I saw in the boutique, or the candle I saw wherever. So for me, I'm thinking immediately, I need to be a voice behind the candle. I need people to know why I'm doing what I'm doing, what my candles are about. It's building a brand. And when you build your brand and you come out with a strong message and you are consistent, it works. It absolutely works. And it has worked so well for me, in fact, that on my 1-year anniversary of launching my online business, I started a little brick and mortar, and it's not a big space, you guys, but it's my store and people come to it. And already, the month isn't quite over yet, but already I am nearly triple what I was in January last year. And I'm telling you, so much of this has to do with how you brand your candles. So even before I had the store, when it was just online, I was on Facebook a lot. I was posting videos for Facebook, not like a big long YouTube video, but more like just a short and sweet, where I would take a candle. And if you guys follow me on my Facebook business page, Round Town Candle Co., you've probably seen some of these. If you don't and you want to jump on there, I'm sure you can go back and see. But I will just post little things kind of all the time. I will post things like, I posted a video of a candle that was halfway through its burn cycle, you know, half the wax gone. And with that candle, there was not, you know, the jar looked clean as could be. The candle was burning nicely. You know, I showed them what the wick looked like, what the wax looked like, what the jar looked like. And I talked about the importance for me of using soy wax and the importance for me of using clean fragrances and how that made my candle different and how it makes me feel. And those are all things that I just push all the time. And when people would, you know, talk to me about it and say, you know, I'm thinking about purchasing a candle, you know, whatever type of just normal, you know, shopping chit chat, I would always tell them the reason I started this, the purpose behind it, this is why I'm so passionate about these candles. And it has made such a difference. And since my store has opened, it's even, oh my goodness, it's so much better in that respect, because people like to talk to the owner. They like to talk to the maker, the person who knows everything about everything. It makes them feel this connection even more so to the product. So anytime you can get yourself out there, even if you don't have a store, if you're at a market, if you are, you know, on social media, whatever you're doing, anytime you can get in front of people and tell them about your product. When people see the passion and what's driving behind that candle or the wax melt or the room spray or whatever it is, when they understand that, it changes their perspective on it. I could just say, well, this candle smells great. If you burn this candle, it's gonna smell just like you're making sugar cookies at home, you know, and they might be like, oh, that's wonderful. But if I say, you know, oh, I love this, it really makes the house smell just like you're baking sugar cookies. And then for me, I don't have to worry about the headaches that would come along with burning a candle. I know that my family is safe. I know my pets are safe. You know, there's not a bunch of soot all around the jar. The rim of the jar is not black like can happen with some candles. And it makes me feel a lot better about putting that into, you know, into the air that we're all breathing. And people will, you wouldn't believe how many times people will say things like, oh my gosh, you know, I never really thought about it, but I've got a, you know, my cousin, she always complains about candles and saying that they, you know, they give her a headache or make her throat scratch. I never really thought about it. I'm going to say something to her about it. I mean, it just works. So you may not use soy. You may not do what I'm doing, and that's okay. But whatever you are doing, you need to get behind that and you need to let people know. You need to just, and not in a sales pitchy way. And that's the thing I think sometimes can push people away. And that's what makes people afraid to tell their story or promote their product, because they're afraid that people are going to be irritated and like, ugh, you know, stop the sales pitch. It's not about a sales pitch. It's just about a conversation where you're really just telling people why your product is different or why it's special, or maybe it's not so different from the other ones around town, but maybe the ones around town are just sitting on a shelf. Maybe there's nobody behind them that's just really spreading that knowledge, or, you know, really saying, I love what I'm doing. These candles are everything to me. And for me to be able to create a product that I believe in, that smells amazing, and I know is going to be, you know, good in your home with your family and your pets and all that, that makes me feel really good. And, you know, you can say things too like, well, what kind of scents do you prefer? Or is there something that you just absolutely can't stand? And then that person will no doubt tell you. And then there's your conversation starter. You can say, oh, well, I've got one, just try this and tell me what you think about it. Tell me if you like it or not. And if you don't, it's okay. I'm just curious to know, based on the type of scents that you just told me that you like, this one's a little different, but it's got some of those similarities, and I'm anxious to see what you think about it. And I've sold a lot of candles doing that. I've sold a lot of candles to people just based on, you know what, try this one and just tell me what you think. If you think this is somewhat close to what you kind of like, or maybe this one over here. And, or they'll say like, oh, I hate floral scents. And I'll say, okay, then stay away from those over there. You probably won't like those, but let's look over here. So it's really just about the engagement. And, whew, no sneeze. Anyways, sorry, thought I was gonna sneeze. But it's about the engagement of everything. It's more than just pouring candles and putting on a label that looks good and setting it out. It's so much more than that. So yes, the market is hugely saturated. There is no shortage of candles. And it doesn't matter if you use paraffin wax, or you use a coconut soy blend, or you use, you know, 100% soy. It doesn't matter. Somebody else is making that same candle. It's just the way it is. And the fragrance you're using, somebody else is using it too. So it's not like my candles are the only ones like this around at all. It's not like that at all, because, and I know that. So that's what you have to do. When you look at a market where you're looking at kind of apples on apples, you know, you have to say, well, what makes my apple better? How can I get people to pick my apple instead of the one over here? Talk about your story. Talk about how you started your business, what inspired you, what drives you, what's important to you, and listen to what they say too. I had a customer that said, wow, you know, I couldn't burn candles for years because they would irritate my throat, and I love these, they don't bother me. Now, why don't you consider doing a car freshie? Because I can't use any car freshies. Same thing happens. They're overpowering. They give me a headache. They make my throat itch, all that stuff. And I was like, that is an awesome idea. I will work on that. And I did. So listen to your customers as well. It doesn't matter. There are, just like restaurants, you guys, there are a ton of places to go eat dinner. A ton. And there are a ton of people to fill all the seats in all the places. So you have to think about, what is it that's going to get people to come to your table? So if you want to start into a business journey, if you want to, you know, create that, do not let people scare you out of doing that. Because if I would have listened to the first person that told me, candle market's pretty heavily saturated, are you sure you want to go in that direction? If I would have really just kind of held on to that and been like, ugh, they're right, candles are everywhere, this is so silly, I just shouldn't even do this. Oh my goodness, the opportunities I'd be missing. Just, it makes me cringe to think about it, because this is the first time in my life that I have found something that I feel truly passionate about. And I think there's so many people that find those things, or maybe they've been doing them on the side all along, and those are the things that really make them happy. But you know, you've got this job that you have to keep, and I still have a full-time job, so I totally get that. But the point is, do not let those people saying those things keep you from taking that chance. And it might not work, but it might. So that's my message for today. That's probably the best advice that I can give to anybody right now. I mean, I can go into details about business and decisions I make and how I do this and that, and I'm sure I will hit those videos all at some point. But the main thing on this one, and even if you already have a business and you've had your business for quite some time, it applies to you too, because honestly, it's really about what you can do to make yourself stand out, make your product stand out, and continue to grow your business. So if you already have your business established and you're doing pretty good, do better. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that to be mean, like your business isn't good enough and my way is gonna make your business better. Please don't take it for that, please, because I don't ever, ever, ever wanna put anybody down. But what I'm saying is, I see the difference firsthand that it makes when I started to really push the passion for this business and when I really started to push the product and what it means to me. So I hope that you find this helpful. I hope that you don't feel like I'm, you know, again, saying that my way is the way and I'm some kind of big, you know, gajillion-dollar business, because it's not true. I'm still way, way down, but I'm moving in the right direction. And the oversaturation is okay for me because I've found a way to really not let that affect me too much. So one other thing, and I will definitely go into this in depth. I've touched on it before, but another thing that kind of goes hand in hand with that is when you look at all the other, you know, your competition around you, there are so many candle makers locally to me who are making a similar product as what I'm making and are priced at a fraction of where I am. And I did not come out of the gate and match their pricing. I didn't even really come quite close to it. I am well above it. And that is because, again, I want to make a stand. I want to make a bold statement on the brand. I want to make the bold statement that my candles are worth what I'm asking for them, and here's why. And people don't care. People are buying my candles, and I'm not like price gouging by any means, but I know what my costs are. I know what my labor time is. I know what this whole store cost me to put together, and I know what my future goals are. And if I'm selling a candle for $2 over cost, I can tell you right now, I'm not gonna match any of those goals. Like, I'm not gonna get there. Or if I do, it'll take forever. So don't be afraid. Do not be afraid of your competition. Do not feel like you have to be right where they are or you have to price lower than them to be able to get the business away from them. It's not about that. It's about your brand, how you're presenting it. It's about the passion and the drive and the fire and engaging with your customers and building relationships with them. And they will see the value in your product. They will see the value in you, and they will definitely pay for that candle. So that's all I have for today. Please subscribe, like, comment, do all those things, and I will see you guys on the next video. Have a good one.